Hi, everyone. It's Josh Burson. It's July 2022, and I want to reflect back on the big reset 3 years later. We have been in the pandemic for our third summer now and learned a lot. And one of the things that I want to reflect on is what's really happened over the last 3 years that we can take back and learn from, and where can we go from here? And I've been having this conversation repeatedly with clients. And so I wanted to put it online so each of you can take advantage of what we've learned. First of all, it's obvious from the economic data that the economy today is peaked, and the Federal Reserve and the ECB and other organizations are raising interest rates to slow it down. That is a normal business cycle effect from 14 to 15 years of near zero interest rates. We also obviously have supply chain issues creating inflation. There's been a lot of money pumped into the economy by the federal government and other governments around the world. And now we have to slow it down. And that does not mean we're going to have a global recession, not in my opinion. I see no evidence of that. As of today, there are 14.7 million jobs open in the United States. That's, roughly 9% of the entire workforce. So that's a lot of jobs. Yes, there are some unemployment, statistics going up, but there's still lots and lots of jobs open. 680,000 nursing jobs are open, lots of sales positions. So companies are still growing. People are buying things. People are going on vacation. Wealth in the United States is in general as high as it's ever been for most people, even though we still have this huge disparity of income. But we've learned a lot through the pandemic, and we're not out of it yet, but I want to give you some reflections on what's happened. So if I look back on, kind of what's gone well, first of all, who would have guessed that every company would transform itself for remote and hybrid work, remote and hybrid customer experiences, digital delivery of products and services? Everybody's done this. I don't think anybody would have ever imagined that this would be possible before the pandemic. And to accommodate that, companies have taken really good care of their employees. Employee experience has turned into a multi-$100 million, billion-dollar market just in HR, to say nothing of all the peripheral parts to it. Companies are worried about well-being, mental health, resilience, what we call human-centered leadership. CEOs have been taking time to communicate with employees and listen, create a sense of purpose in the organization. They have to, because they can't hire people fast enough to grow. Now, at the same time that's been going on, there's a lot of re-engineering, and our research shows that because of the rate of digital transformation that's taken place and it's accelerated, every company is becoming something else. When Amazon announced the acquisition of One Medical, that's an example of a trend. Retail industry companies, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Amazon, moving into healthcare delivery or service delivery of different healthcare services. That's going on in every industry. Telecommunications companies getting into media, oil companies getting into hydrogen and solar and other forms of mining, car companies getting into telematics and electric vehicles and all of the technologies around batteries. Everybody is becoming something they weren't before, and that has created a growth in lots of focus on organizational design, skills, reskilling, upskilling, talent mobility, internal talent marketplaces, and new models of work where you can work part-time, you can get paid for gig work, you can work from around the world. And 3 years ago, this was nothing more than a talking point. It's now a reality. The fourth thing that's happened is we've come to grips with the fact that mental health is a real issue and we can talk about it. It was a stigma to talk about mental health years ago. And I remember when I was a young guy working at IBM, you didn't talk about your feelings. You couldn't even go to work and say, I'm kind of tired today. Nobody would ever say that. That's just, was not considered to be part of your work. That was your personal issues. Well, now we know that mental health may be the number one issue companies have with their workers. In the US, the data from the CDC is really just astoundingly surprising. 15.6% of Americans on the whole take drugs for OCD, depression, anxiety, or other forms of mental health. More than 25% of Americans under the age of 25 take medication for mental health. And then it tapers down as you get older. But it's a very significant issue. And For the workplace and for HR people, there's two sides to it. There's the individual issues of what is causing somebody to be unhealthy or stressed out or depressed, which is to some degree their personal problems, and we need to give them help and support and counseling and tools to help with that. But then there's the organizational side, and I believe we're doing a lot of work in our company and in many other companies to understand what do we do at work that makes stress worse. Too many goals, overwork. The something like 70% of frontline workers say that their number one issue at work is overwork, too many things to do, too many customers waiting in line, systems that are too hard to work, re-engineering. I mean, virtually every company from Starbucks to Apple to Walmart is going through a serious look at work design to make work easier, to reduce the pressure on people, to teach managers how to be what we call human-centered leaders. That's a positive thing that's come out of this pandemic. Another thing that's been really positive to me in the last 3 years is the growth in awareness of what I call talent intelligence. It's kind of a geeky term, but you can now buy software that identifies job roles or skills or patterns of activity inside of your company that will make your company better. And that can be done algorithmically through highly intelligent data systems that are available from HR vendors. That was not possible 3 years ago, and that has been accelerated by the demand for new people during the pandemic. We've obviously had a huge growth in collaboration platforms, Teams, Zoom, Slack, all of the new video conferencing technology, all of the Microsoft Viva products that didn't exist 3 years ago, and the peripherals around them are huge. And virtually every part of HR, from the learning industry to the recruiting industry to pay to employee feedback to recognition to passive feedback, has advanced significantly because of all of the money that's been spent on HR tech and all the VC money that's gone into the space. So these are all of the things that to me have gone really well. And, and the metaverse, is yet to be proven, but there is a lot of opportunity there. What has not gone well? Well, there's been a lot of disappointments to me in this, experience. When the pandemic first began, and I did the first speech or video for you on the Big Reset, I reflected on the fact that, maybe this was nature's way of telling us to calm down, slow down, take care of the environment, take care of each other, take care of our communities, take care of our culture, take care of ourselves. Well, that was a very altruistic idea. That is not what happened. We actually have maybe more discord and disagreement in society than we did before. We have giant political issues that have taken place in the United States, the January 6th riots. We continue to have issues with distrust of the Supreme Court, the left versus the right. And I'm mostly reflecting on the United States, but populism in the UK, populism in France. China has had a distinct problem in managing their response to the pandemic, has slowed their economy significantly. So there's one thing that has not gone well. I think there's a lesson there on human nature, that when people are under attack and they're afraid, they oftentimes will blame others rather than come together. And that's sort of a social disappointment to me. I'm reminded of Jonathan Sachs' book, Morality, where he talks about the fact that even the best government and the best governance will not replace a sense of morality. And we need to remind ourselves of that. Second thing that's gone poorly, of course, is crypto. Now, Web3 is the biggest harebrained new idea that anybody's ever thought of. Nobody knows what it is. It's just a bunch of people's opinions. But this idea of distributed computing and decentralized computing is completely unproven. It's a great idea. By the way, in the 1970s and 1980s, we did this at IBM with SNA. It was just old technology. But we know what distributed computing is and distributed authority. Is there a business reason for it? It's not clear. Is there a business reason for crypto? I don't know what it is. I haven't been able to figure it out. And so billions of dollars were lost on that. And I think that was an example of money chasing opportunities because interest rates were low. Money was chasing housing prices. Money was chasing stocks. Money was chasing crypto and startups because there was no place else to put it when the interest rates were zero. Well, we're waking up to that now. The interest rates are going up and we're going to be pulling money out of those kind of speculative ideas and, entering what I would call a more normal economy. So there's something that's, maybe not gone well. We've lost in the United States some rights. We've lost the right to abortion. We may be losing LGBT rights. We may be losing gay marriage rights. It's hard to tell. But there's a little bit of a fear here that for some reason, the pandemic awoken this need to go back in time. I don't think that's permanent. I think this is temporary, but that's something that I would reflect on as maybe not gone well. Russia decided during the pandemic to wage a war on the largest country in Europe. And I believe the reason the Russians did this, and Vladimir Putin did this, is he sensed the weakness in the political systems of all of the surrounding countries caused by the pandemic. The pandemic was a very, very difficult experience for governments to make the right decisions and the right policies, to decide what to do about masks and back to work and schools and vaccination. And of course, we now have a war. And, maybe the war has turned into a positive thing in the sense that NATO is now aligned and we have a better consensus about, who the NATO alliance countries are. But, a lot of people are getting killed. It's a really horrible situation. So that, I'm not saying that was caused by the pandemic, but I think there's a relationship there. Another downside, of course, is inflation. You can talk about inflation as Joe Biden's fault. It's not his fault. He has nothing to do with it. The reason we have inflation is we have supply chain problems caused by the pandemic. We have an overheated economy from many years of too much money getting pumped in. By the way, that money was pumped in by the Trump administration, as well as by the early days of the Obama administration, the early days of the 2008 crisis, and a little bit by the latest administration. So there's no political blame to go there. That's just a trend where most of the politicians wanted to get reelected by claiming the economy grew on their terms. So everybody wanted interest rates low over and over and over again until it just got too high. But that's affecting workers, is affecting standard of living. And unfortunately, it's probably creating more income inequality. So that's a downside. Higher interest rates is a downside. I don't think higher interest rates has anything to do with the pandemic, but it's a reality. For those of you my age, you lived in the days in the 70s when we had 15, 17% interest rates. I don't think we're going to go back to that. But for those of you that are younger and you've not lived in a world of high interest rates, you're going to have to now make more strategic asset allocation decisions because you're going to be able to make money in different places. And there won't be this gambling casino going on in where to invest. And then there's this general discussion about whether we're going to have a recession. I don't see it coming. Our relationships with employers, and many, many hundreds of them, they're all hiring. Yeah, things are slowing down. That's natural. We're at the end of a business cycle, but I don't see a massive recession, although, things could slow down and there will be some layoffs, but most of the layoffs right now have been in the tech industry, which was, way, way, way overpriced and overvalued for a whole bunch of reasons. And then the other negative, of course, is this general frustration that, when is this pandemic going to end? Is it going to end? When Joe Biden got sick, I thought, is this the, epic thing that happens? The United States president gets sick again. Second time this has happened. So there we are, the big reset 3 years later. A lot of things have been very positive. A lot of things have been difficult. What do we do next? Well, I'm not going to hear and talk to you about politics or economics too much, but I think from a business standpoint, one thing is extremely clear to me, and I'm going to leave you with this, and you're going to hear about this a lot in our research we're doing and our education in HR. And that is that as a business person, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as an executive, as an investor, if you're not taking care of your employees, your company is falling behind. I call that, and we call that, becoming irresistible to your people. Because one of the most interesting trends that's happened in the economy in the last decade is that technology has not reduced the role of people. It has increased the need for people. We are more short people now than we've been at any time I can remember in my adult career. More jobs are being created in new domains every day. And that means that you as an employer have to provide the right experience, the right tools, the right education, the right training, the right pay, the right work environment, the right job roles to do that. My new book, Irresistible, is all about that. It's going to be available in October. You can pre-order it now. And it's about the 7 principles of becoming an irresistible organization. We gave away 450 early copies of the book to all of our attendees at our conference in May, and we've heard nothing but rave reviews. These are the principles for survival and growth and exceptional performance in this new world. The pandemic may or may not go away, and in the near term, but if you don't take care of your people, you will find yourself facing unions, you will find yourself with high turnover, you will find yourself in an underperforming operation. Give you an example of this. People have a lot of autonomy right now. They have a lot of power over their careers. People with skills can move. They can go to a new job without picking up and changing cities. There's lots of information on the internet on how to find a new role. So if you're not taking care of people, they are looking around, they are considering a life change. 81% of employees, according to the latest Mercer study, are burned out. And close to a quarter of them are saying, I don't know if I like the company I work in anymore. And that's not a good situation for most of you who are managers or employers. I was on the phone with one of the fastest growing software companies in the United States, headquartered in Southern California, just yesterday. And they have about 1,800 employees. They're probably going to hire another 1,000 employees over the next 2 years. She told me they have a 24% turnover rate. And I asked her why. And she said, I don't know. People are just moving around because they're just kind of frustrated at everything. And that's not good. So my mantra to you as we enter the 3rd year of this is you have to work extra hard to make your company a trusted, meaningful, purposeful growth experience for your employees. If you do that, they will take care of the business. There is a mentality in many companies that customers come first, or revenue comes first, or the stock market comes first, and employees come last. That will not work in this economy. And whether you formally think about your employees as an asset or as an expense, they are an asset. They are an appreciating asset. And so everything we can teach you how to do to make your company more irresistible will help you thrive in this new era as we enter the 3rd year of the pandemic. We're going to keep doing this. We'll be launching our global workforce intelligence research this fall. And I just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of give you a recap of where we are 3 years into the pandemic. And maybe we call this the Big Reset Continues. Thank you very much.